Good evening, everybody. We are here again this Sunday. I think this is the sixth edition of this series of talks on to commemorate the Silver Jubilee or 25 years of organic terrace gardening in Bangalore. And as always, we have got a very interesting presentation, a very interesting session to go on today. Now, before we go into details of today's session, I would like to request Dr. Hegde to kindly take over, and he has a message to give today to share the condolences of the death of a senior member of our Garden City team. So over to Dr. Hegde.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Uh, so once again, this corona is very cruel. Uh, uh, I don't know. See, we are losing so many of our very close associates and the friends, seniors, well wishers. So today, anyway, certain things that we don't have control. I just put this picture of C.K. Sheshgiri Rao of Bengaluru, a senior OTGN, very enthusiastic OTGN. Out of 34 events of Uta from your Tota across Bengaluru, I don't think that he has missed maybe 2-3 events. Otherwise, whether it is Hennuru in BM English School or Village Story, the Alahanka, so somehow that he made time, visited all the stalls, talked to many vendors, purchased many items. So that way, I take this opportunity on part of all of you to probably wish him rest in peace, Om Shanti, and all his family members to bear the losses. Today morning, 6 o'clock, that he died. And of course, 4-5 days back that I talked to him when he was in hospital, and he was very probably hopeful, and he was telling, no, I'm fine, that I will be discharged. So that way, anyway, 3-4 days later, today morning, that I got the news message that he is no more. Anyway, so we will just condole his death on all of us. Maybe for 1 minute, and a few of us are there probably on the YouTube. Maybe people are viewing. So as a mark of respect, just we will observe silence for 1 minute, and then we'll start the proceedings. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh. Please take over. I'll just stop this sharing.
Yeah, shall I take over, Hegde, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. We are here on the sixth Sunday, where we'll be sharing something related to urban foodscapes. And for those who are visiting us for the first time, this happens to be the 25th year, or Silver Jubilee of organic terrace gardening in Bangalore. And it was the wish of our dear patron, mentor, and whom we look upon for all our inspiration, Dr. B.N. Vishwanath, whom we lost very recently, just a little before the Silver Jubilee event. That was his dream, to have to in some way have a grand marking of this 25 years of OTG. In fact, we have planned some national and international conferences, but due to pandemic, this is not, it could not happen. Now, today we are having, so we have a series of 25 Sundays where we have some talk related to urban foodscapes and gardening. And today we have got with us Mrs Preeti Patel. I must, at the first initially, I must ask for her apologies because there's a small mistake in the spelling in the YouTube. It comes Patel. Well, it's actually Patil. So sorry for that, and it was a little too late, and I was not technically sound to make the change also. So sorry for that, madam. That having said,
No problem.
she's the reference Dr. B.N. Vishwanath used to give to all queries to him on urban foodscapes and urban gardening. She's from Mumbai, and he used to take the example of the garden in Mumbai Port Trust, which even I had been along with Dr. Vishwanath a few years ago. He used to use this to convey the example of how to convert waste to resource. She's the brain behind that. She is basically a Mumbaiker, and she's a catering officer at Mumbai Port Trust since 1992. Now, being the catering officer itself is a big task. You know, you have to take care of catering for thousands of people who work in the Port Trust. But going beyond that, she put in all her efforts with her team to develop the idea of food gardens using the huge canteen waste. She got inspiration from the terrace garden, Dr. R.T. Joshi, to start her work on urban foodscapes in 2001, did many trials and experiments of setting up the MBPT food garden. The principles and teachings of Sri Deepak Sitte and wisdom from Sripad Dabolkar, the founder of the concept of Natico farming, natural eco farming. In fact, when I attended the program in Mumbai along with Dr. Vishwanath, I was also very much inspired by that and the concept of raised beds and all these things that we also in some way started adopting it in our terrace gardens here. She has set up has a team that has set up a 3,000 square feet terrace garden at the Mumbai Port Trust, like Uta from your Tota of Garden City Farmers. Urban Leaves is the program or movement of Vidya Bharati Trust to promote the concept of urban gardening, more particularly about grow what you eat. Urban gardening doesn't just mean growing flowers and grasses, but grow something which we can eat and eat something which we can grow, which we grow. Preeti and many of our friends are putting up great efforts to spread the idea of safe and functional food, community gardens, etc. I still remember that Nana Nani Park near Marine Drive, which we visited when we had come there, madam. I think you had the inspiration behind that. So much to learn. So much to learn from the reports. I think it's near Chowpatty Beach. And there's a Nana Nani Park where we spent some time. Yeah.
Yes.
And we really enjoyed visiting that. Now we are all waiting to listen from her. Over to you, Preeti, madam. Preeti, madam, please take over.
I think she has to unmute herself.
Hello. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, madam, now I can hear you. Please take over.
You can?
I can.
You can hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Sorry. My internet had gone a little, a little bit. So thank you, sir, for having me here today. Thank you, Mr. Hegre, for inviting me to share this 20 years journey with you. The lockdown period has not been easy for any one of us, and a little depressing also at times. But as I sat down to prepare this presentation, I was filled with a sense of nostalgia and happiness. And so it is with a lot of joy in my heart today that I take you through this beautiful journey. I would also like to pay my respects and gratitude to the immense contribution of Professor Dabholkar, Dr. R.T. Doshi, Dr. Vishwanathan, Shri Deepak Sachdev, Uday Acharya, and Clear, from whom I have learned so much all these years. To give you a brief of my background, I work as a catering officer at Mumbai Port Trust, and there is this central kitchen in the port premises which caters to all the port employees. In the year 1999, we were faced with a big problem of waste disposal. And as I looked for solutions, I came across Dr. R.T. Doshi's work on city farming. When we visited his terrace, I was like, I'm a tip fruits and all those fruits. Has the PPT gone? 1 minute. Sorry. Has the sharing stopped?
Yeah, I think the screen sharing has stopped.
Screen sharing is stopped. Actually, screen sharing takes a lot of bandwidth. So if your internet is...
Sorry. So it was very fascinating for me. I think, yeah, I started it again. It's the internet. Sorry. Of all the days today, it's giving me trouble. Can you hear me all now?
Yeah,
we
can hear you. It's
Hello?
just that when you, if you turn on the
Hello?
screen, yeah, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, madam. We can hear you. I think she signed out and she'll be signing in, I think.
Yes, let us wait.
Yeah.
Wait.
Do you have a copy of the presentation?
No, Pramila, I just asked her. She said that it is quite big, for that reason that she did not send.
Right.
Otherwise, that we would have.
Sometimes screen sharing takes a lot of bandwidth.
She's logged in again.
Hello?
Yes. You are audible, madam.
Sorry, what has happened? I'm not able to understand.
No problem.
Connection is
Try
unstable.
try sharing again.
Yeah. It never happens. Of all the days today, I don't know what
Doesn't
has
matter.
happened.
It
No
doesn't
problem,
matter.
no
You're the
problem.
co-host now, so you can
You
share.
are the co-host. You can share again.
Yeah. What has happened to this now?
Yeah, I think it will come. There, yeah, it's come.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Will you
Okay,
put your
start
but
again,
just
or are
open
we
up
still live
slideshow.
only?
Slideshow. Turn on the slideshow.
I am on the slideshow.
No. Yeah, that's right.
You can't see?
Now it's fine.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So I cut short a little bit of intro. He's already given me now. Okay. So today I'll take you through what I intend to do is I started this journey in 1999 at the Mumbai Port Trust Central Kitchen Terrace. This central kitchen actually caters to all the port employees, and it was at that point of time we were cooking for 6,000 people, and there was a lot of waste that was being generated in the kitchen. And as we searched for solutions, I came across Dr. Doshi's of city farming. And we were a batch about 20 interested employees from the canteen who used to work in the canteen. We attended a one-day workshop with him. And that was the beginning of our experiments on the terrace of the kitchen. So 1999, we started with this project, and over a period of almost 10 years, it took us the first progress, really major progress that happened was after a period of 10 years when we founded Earlies and the first community farm at Maharashtra Nature Park. After that, it was the beginning of one farm after another. Then we hosted the national seminar. So I'll be taking you through this entire journey today, slowly one by one. So this is a team at Mumbai Trust, and this there was a need to recycle all that waste that was generated. As I said, we began experiments after getting trained from Dr. Doshi, and further. So the common thread between Dr. Doshi's teachings, Deepak Sachdev, and all the experiments that we did, common thread that connected us was Professor Dabholkar. We were inspired by the works of Dabholkar ji, and he was the founder of a methodology of a grassroots networking of farmers, which he called as the Prayog Parivar. Prayog is experiments and Parivar is networking. So, and he also coined this entire methodology as the Natu-Eco, which means nature and ecology farming. The Prayog Parivar is a dynamic collective of experiments. Dr. Doshi, Deepak Sachdev, Jitu Bhai, Kutmutia, who were all my teachers, all formed a part of this Prayog Parivar. And Dabholkar ji, having a background of mathematics, he explained all the difficult aspects of science and botany by simplifying the laws of nature to reap a sure calculated harvest. This was really magical for us. And we are still in awe of all the teachings that he has, and we are not able to comprehend it fully, but we are still in the process of learning those. So this was the first plantation in 1999 that we did. We used baskets. These were aerated baskets. And if you ask me why aerated baskets, I'll come to it immediately. So we used these aerated baskets and old recycled drums, a lot of sugarcane bagasse, garden soil, and our own kitchen waste. The civil conditions at that time was very poor. In fact, the whole kitchen terrace was leaking very badly. I remember one of the walls was like, we used to say, Paniyacha Dhabdaba, it's like waterfall. It was like a waterfall. And when I look back, I think, oh my God, we started in those conditions. But yes, we did. So the waterproofing had not been done. And there was a lot of seepages. So as you can see, it was all like concrete. It is a two-story structure actually. And so this is how we started. And the technique that went into this was, we took those aerated containers or the drums which had holes drilled on the sides, and the base was cut off. Now these containers, we filled almost 1/4 of the base was filled with sugarcane bagasse. In it, we added some garden soil. We used to plant a sapling in it. And then we used to mulch the soil with sugarcane bagasse again. Now after this, every day, a fistful of kitchen waste was added to each drum daily. Now this method was a kind of an in situ composting method where the plant is growing in the container as well as the waste is getting recycled in the same container. So it was very, very magical for us when we started. We were completely in awe of this. So after we started in about 6 months' time, there were some challenges. Now today, mostly I'm going to share with you not only the successes, but also a lot of my failures. I can't call it failures, let's call them challenges, because it was these challenges that really, tested our patience, knowledge, as well as our determination to go ahead. So the first challenge that presented itself in front of us was that these baskets that we used had holes all around. So the holes were there for a purpose, and the purpose was that since there was a lot of sugarcane bagasse at the bottom, and the plant was growing, this initially when you're doing the planting, a lot of heat is generated, and this heat needs to dissipate from the container. It has to go out from the container. Hence, you have to have an aerated container for that. So this was the purpose of the aerated basket. However, on the flip side, it also resulted in a lot of water being evaporated. So constantly we used to see that this thing, the soil inside used to get dry. Okay. So what happened was there was a need to again stitch the side of the basket with a green shade net. And this was not only a big laborious task, but it also it was very expensive to sit and stitch shade nets on all the containers. Then the flowering and the ornamentals grew very well, but the fruits and vegetables had a lot of pest attack. And what happened was the waste that we were adding each day to this each container did not get decomposed quickly, as the soil that we had used was not very microbially rich or didn't have a very high fungal count. It was a simple garden soil which we had purchased from a nursery. So what happened was the kitchen waste that we added every day used to lie there for some time, and this started attracting a lot of rat issues, which really once you're all gardeners and you know that if there is a rat around in your garden, it doesn't really allow anything to grow for some time. Now, since this was a kitchen, one of our teachers told us, why don't you pulverize the waste, as you have a pulverizer in the kitchen? And that's where our pulverizer in our kitchen came to our rescue. So we started pulverizing the waste in the kitchen and then adding it to these containers. So this really solved the problem for us. Again, in a few months' time, we were all, since we had, the initial planting that you saw was done in a very small containers and baskets. And maybe after 6 months or 8 months of time, we thought we were a little ambitious, and we said, let's transplant the trees in bigger drums now. So there were a lot of these drums which were a waste product in the pot, and a lot of our kitchen employees, they got hold of these drums, got them cleaned. In our workshop, we got the holes done, and we wanted to now shift the fruit trees into these drums. Now, while we were doing that, in his book, Dr. Doshi said, any type of locally available biomass, for example, kitchen vegetable waste, could be added at the base of the container. So what we did was, while transplanting a chiku tree in a bigger drum, okay, we filled it with bagasse. Then we put in a layer of mix of dry and green biomass. Okay. And then we put a layer of garden soil over it. We planted the sapling and we mulched. And we are very happy that we have fed our chiku tree with all the vegetable waste in the kitchen, plus the dry biomass, plus the bagasse. Now, what happened the next day? Next day, when I visited, the tree was looking a little sad. So I said, maybe it's the transplanting that has shocked it a little. And so not to make a big deal out of it. Okay, 2 days down the line, the plant was completely dead. Completely dead. Now, this was like really saddening. This was the first casualty we had on the terrace. And as usual, my teacher was there, Deepak Sachdevi, and I asked him. I said, Deepak bhai, what could have gone wrong with my plant? And when I told him, he said, "Oh my God!" So what has happened? I'll just quickly cut short the. What has happened is when you're putting a lot of organic waste at the bottom, that's bagasse, the greens and the browns. Now, most of you are composting today, who are viewing this presentation will know that a lot of heat is generated when you're mixing browns and greens together. So this is exactly what happened in the container. So a lot of heat was generated. At the same time, what happened was, while as decomposition starts, it needs a lot of oxygen also. So it pulled all the oxygen from the surrounding area and it robbed the roots of any oxygen. So the roots was like really affected in two ways. One is the heat and one is the lack of oxygen. So this was a big learning for us. Never mix greens and browns as a mulch or when a plant is growing nearby. So it's fine when you're mixing browns and greens in a compost. In fact, it's desirable. But if you have a plant growing nearby, or if you are mulching with, or you're using organic waste as a mulch, please let's refrain from using greens directly on the soil as mulch. Yeah. So since this happened, I asked Deepak Bhai, what is a complete soil then? How should we go about this? Because if this is what is happening to our plants, I was filled with all kinds of questions in my heart. And sorry, do not. I saw again here to note was the fruits and the vegetables were having a problem. The ornamentals were not really having a problem. There were a lot of pest attacks on fruits and vegetables. And when we inquired with Dr. Doshi's team, we were told that the soil is not rich enough and all the plants are not getting all the nutrients. Okay, so I was now thinking, how do I get all these nutrients and nutrients for my plant? Although I'm a dietitian and I know what we need, I was not conversant with what the plants need. And as I said, I had never grown even a single plant in all these years before I started this experiment. So I'm not sure what the plant needs in the soil. So then my search began for what plants needed. And that's when, again, I went to Deepak Bhai, who guided me in the Natu-Eco method of soil building. From him, we learned about the Amrit Mitti. And once we started making the Amrit Mitti, there was no holding us back. So the next was that we learned about the Amrit Mitti. This is Amrit Mitti is a nutrient and a microbially rich living soil. Believe me, you got to make it to believe it. And you got to use it. Once you start making Amrit Mitti, you really understand the nitty-gritties of a living soil. And once you start using Amrit Mitti, you will not settle for any other Mitti, or even you will not even go for store-bought Mitti. But I understand from sir that Amrit Mitti session is going to be handled by another person in I think next week or in a week's time. So I'm not going to really go into the depth of how to make Amrit Mitti or what are the benefits. But just to tell you that we started, so when we started making Amrit Mitti, we already had a big terrace full of plants growing. See that at that point of time we had about 80-90 containers with all kinds of flowering fruits, everything was growing in it. And what we did was we used to make heaps of Amrit Mitti, and then batch by batch, as and when we could do, we used to add to these fruits and vegetables. Sorry. So this was, so that at that point of time, when we started making the Amrit Mitti, it was, I think, 2.5 or 3 years down the line. And that's when the waterproofing project came up. Okay. It was already in the pipeline, but as you know, government projects take long before they actually execute it. So it was almost 3.5 years since they actually got down to waterproofing the terrace. It was why I'm telling you, mentioning about this waterproofing is that it was a challenge for us to get the waterproofing done, as well as maintain the plants, health of the plants on the terrace. We didn't want this garden to go away. So what we did was, it was a 3,000 square feet area. What we did was, we clubbed all the plants and shifted them in one corner of the terrace, just leaving spaces for somebody to go and water them. Okay. And then part by part, we handed the terrace for waterproofing. We had a amazing civil engineer, one Mr. Star, who has carried out the waterproofing in such a wonderful way that it's almost 18 years now that there has not been a single drop of water seepage below. In fact, this terrace is on the second floor, but we are seeing that on the first floor of the kitchen, there is a problem. But the second floor is completely free of even a small drop of, seepage that he's done such a wonderful job with the waterproofing. So this terrace area of 3,000 square feet was to be waterproofed. And so we shifted all the trees on one half of the terrace and carried out this waterproofing in 3 phases, shifting each time. And trees were, trees we had transplanted in bigger drums. And meanwhile, making of Amrit Mitti was suspended for some time. But the recycling of pulverized waste continued by adding a fistful of same every day to each drum. So this adding of the kitchen waste continued, but the Amrit Mitti work had to be suspended because there was no place to make these Amrit Mitti heaps. So again, after just the waterproofing had just ended, it took about almost 6 to 8 months to complete the waterproofing with all the challenges that were there to deal with. So what happened after that was, we again started losing a few trees as they were drying up. Now, what could be the problem here? Again, Deepak Bhai came, and I asked him, I said, Deepak Bhai, isko kya ho gaya? What happened to these plants? So he said, treat the soil, not the plant. Have you seen the soil? Have you checked the soil? What is underneath it? I said, no, I've not even checked it. So he said, okay, remove the mulch and see what's underneath it. So we removed the mulch slowly. It was a mulch of sugarcane bagasse. That's what we use as mulch all these years. Sugarcane bagasse mulch, as we removed, it was like a cooking soup of noodles of earthworms inside. So just below the mulch, we saw so many earthworms. They were like, actually looked like noodles. And I was little taken aback with it. So what has happened here is, as during those 8 months where we were going on adding the pulverized waste, okay, and as I said, the soil inside was not really very microbially rich or nutrient rich, but basically fungal and microbial rich. What was happening was, the waste remained on the surface without getting decomposed quickly. So there were earthworms inside, because all soil has earthworms. So these earthworms came to eat this the waste that we were adding. And they multiplied and all these things were happening inside the mulch where it was not very visible to us. Now, once we saw that, we learned. What was the learning from this? The learning from this was that the hatchings of these earthworms are very acidic in nature. And since we had so many earthworms in that small little, in those containers, it had made the soil very, very acidic. And due to this acidic pH of the soil, the plants were eventually dying. So we asked Deepak Bhai, aren't earthworms good for the soil? And he said, oh, the earthworms are good, but everything in excess is bad. So what should be the number of earthworms? He said, on a rooftop, when you're doing in a container, per square feet has to be not more than 3 earthworms per square feet. Then only the soil will be healthy and nice. So you've got to maintain the soil in such a way. You've got to add your kitchen waste in such a way that it does not really multiply your earthworms to this extent. So once we started, 1 minute. So once we started, it was still very difficult. There were a lot of other learnings down the way, but mainly what we started doing was we suspended the addition of waste for some time. Okay. And till we found an answer of how to remove, because this earthworms were there in mostly all the containers and they were in really large numbers. Now it was not humanly possible to remove each and every earthworm from the container, but then what do? And we didn't even want the trees to die. So okay, wait and watch and learn. That was what we had to do. Meanwhile, we had, I remember going to Bajwada at Deepak Bhai's farm, and there I saw that he had built these little greenhouses using the bamboo strips. And what I saw there had really, I had liked it a lot, because I saw the germination of seeds and palak and all the greens used to grow wonderfully in these greenhouses. So I said, we came back and I told my team, why let's start, experimenting with these greenhouses on the terrace. So this is what we did, on the roof, we had these little brick structure and we had a shade net. And we also had actually a plastic sheet under it. Actually, we had a plastic sheet under it and the green shade net over it. Now, what happened here? So as we sowed the seeds, the increase in germination of seeds in these greenhouses was amazing. I mean, the germination rate was almost 80%, and earlier we were struggling with it. This was very good. But and also the watering needs reduced. So what happens is, when you're covering with a plastic, the water vapor inside keeps getting recycled inside, and you don't have to keep watering it every time. So the problem of excess moisture, reduced moisture, over watering, less watering, that is taken care of. So that water needs were reduced, and germination also reduced. So where was the challenge? Now, when I went to check on these seeds and the saplings and the germination rate one day, I was standing next to the greenhouse, and I felt some slimy thing near my feet, touching my feet. And I said, my God, what's this? And oh God, there were these noodles of earthworms again, which had come outside the greenhouse. Oh, my poor darlings. You know what had happened? The earthworms had got the temperature inside these greenhouses has shot up so much that the earthworm, which abhors sunlight, it cannot stand sunlight, actually had to come out of the soil and, to protect itself. So this is really amazing as well as a little saddening, but we were at a little loss for why it is happening, what is happening, but we understood that the heat is really making these earthworms come out. It's making them come out. Okay. So on one hand, we felt, oh, this is the way the earthworms come out of the soil. So initially we thought we had found a way to remove all the excess earthworms from all these containers that had happened. But on second thoughts, we said it was a very violent method. and the terrace was huge, and we had 80-90 containers, and he said, this is, I don't think this is possible. Like, if we, even if you have to remove all the earthworms from all these containers, I don't think it's possible to do it in this manner, because there was limited space after all those containers on the terrace. And we wondered how to find a solution before we lost more trees. Again, here the Prayog Parivar comes to the rescue, and a visitor to the farm, Jitubai is a very experienced member of the Prayog Parivar, and he's been helpful to us on many occasions. So he visited the farm and he gave us an idea. Okay, he said there's a win-win solution for all. He suggested that your drums, what you can do is you can create a circle of dry biomass, of biomass outside the drum. And if I've told you, these drums, the sides were cut and the base was also cut. The sides and the base of these drums were cut. And so what we did was we surrounded the drum with this a layer of brick, and we filled in a lot of dry biomass there. Now what happened was a lot of earthworms were attracted to this biomass. So it was dry leaves, a little of our vegetable waste, everything went into this outer circle. And a lot of the earthworms over a period of time started, traveling to this outer ring from within the drum, and it started getting composted. Now, as we saw the earthworms coming out and the biomass getting decomposed, we used to collect it. And there was one garden which is just bang opposite our kitchen. So we collected this and we used to go and put it in the garden. Okay, so over a period of time, we saw the soil and the earthworm population, everything stabilizing slowly, and the canopies of the trees started growing, and there was an increase in productivity of the plants. So there were the other advantages of these outer circles as we started, using them regularly. One advantage was that, on the terrace, the heat is radiated back. So it's a strong radiation, and the terrace really heats up in Mumbai summers. So what happens is, if you have a iron or a plastic drum, the plastic drum especially, it loses shape. Sorry. It loses shape, and what happens is it gets heated also. The soil inside starts compacting and separating, it wants to go away from the plastic. So this is what we've experienced, that in the summers, the soil and the plastics, when I say soil now, I mean Amrit Mitti. So even Amrit Mitti, when it's there in the drum, it starts to come away from the edges of this drum. And it gets heated. The roots really start growing, like they're really looking out for water, and the drum also starts becoming brittle, as well as it starts losing its shape. So once you do this outer circle, it keeps this plastic containers cooler, and the tree also gets a larger surface area for root growth. Okay, so the canopies also start growing. Also, the canopy under the area under the canopy also can be utilized. As you see in this picture, we are here growing sweet potatoes. Okay, so it's a plant, and inside the drum there is sweet potato. Outside also there is sweet potato. So you have a secondary crop also growing there. In 2011, we hosted the national seminar. I'll be coming to it in detail when I come to the urban leaves part of my presentation. But during the national seminar on urban gardening, Clea was one of the presenting persons. And when we heard her talking about permaculture principles, and we asked her, we were very keen to know whether we could actually implement these permaculture principles on a rooftop. And she said, why not? Let's experiment on your terrace. So here we had Clea, who came to the Mumbai Port Trust terrace. in 2011. And we started with this small exercise of first, she was teaching us and of drawing the pathways and the shape of the beds. And one principle that we used here was, she said, let's make our design like a leaf. Okay. So in a leaf, what happens is all the raw material that the plant needs is actually, it's getting transported from one end to the other end to end transportation from in a very good network of veins. So she said, your farm has to have this kind of layout wherein you are able to go from one end to the other. We are able to carry materials from one end to the other. At the same time, the trees are in harmony with each other. So it was very, it was a big learning for us, which I can actually do a separate workshop on it on one fine day. So this is how we started, and this was how it went. So once these once we did the layout with bricks, we filled up the beds with Amrit Mitti here. Okay. There was another aspect to this, which we in permaculture, which they called as the keyhole design. So this was again a part of the terrace had this keyhole design. Here you can see, I'm sorry, in those days we never had mobile phones, and so the photos are very, very limited, and the port did not allow us to carry cameras inside. We have very limited photos on this. So whatever I had, I could gather I have. So this is actually a different angle to it, but you can see here, see this keyhole design, which is here, actually allows access to, allows you access to reach further inside. And there were drums, there were short crops, there were trees, they were all growing in vicinity of each other, like a forest. It was like a forest itself. The next thing that we did was, over the pathways, we built these trellises. Okay. So all the creepers were sowed, the seeds were sowed in these beds, and the creepers were taken up on the trellises. So you can see the trellises. As a result, all the pathways were covered with these beautiful green canopies. And when you walked through the pathway, you could actually harvest all these fruits and vegetables. This was my dream, actually. I used to dream of walking in pathways and do these hanging where I could just reach out and pull them. So these are like a dream come true. Now, two years later, what happened was, you can see it was a beautiful kind of a forest. And the right hand side, you can see the picture, the beautiful pathway. And usually they say, in permaculture, that you need to have canopies at all levels. You need high trees, then you need the smaller trees, then you have the bushes, then you have the small creepers, and something growing along the the floor. So this is what actually we had actually achieved this at one point. So you had the green canopies at all the levels that were there, and the farm had become very, very productive. Another advantage that we had in this. So if you can see this photo, if you can see this photo on the left hand side, you see this chiku tree, and there are these beds. And so under the shade, we have these small little baskets with some herbs growing. And again, if you see on this a different angle to the first photo, you see the sunlight falling from the east, which gave sorry, where's my cursor? Sorry. So this is the chiku tree whose shade is falling on this side. So you have these little small greens that are growing in the shade here. So the advantage of this different levels of canopy was that we could have different microclimates growing, different kinds of varieties in that in that area. Okay, so this was another amazing feature of Amrit Mitti. It is two layered in two brick. This is a 2 brick height. Mind you, these bricks are the fire bricks, which are slightly bigger than the usual bricks that you use for your construction, house construction. These are the fire bricks. They're slightly bigger. So this must be about 7 inches high, 7 inches height. So this 2 brick height of Amrit Mitti is actually supporting not only the short crops, but it's also supporting the long, the papaya tree that you see here, which is very productive. And it's also behind the papaya tree, we had a coconut tree. And just on the left hand side, you can see here, this was this tree is actually, it is a combination of a bale tree and parijatak, 2 trees which are in one drum growing at this height since last 20 years. And they're still doing well. Now, when I sometimes feel that nature, we cannot understand nature at all. Because when we say there's competition and don't allow 2 trees to grow in one, and this is taking away nutrients. And here I have 2 trees who have just come on their own. They're growing so high. They're growing for last 20 years. They are growing very beautifully. It's still there. This combination is still there in one single drum. And this is one plant which I've not even transplanted at all in these years. I've not even taken extra care. But it is still beautiful. I should have put a recent photo of this plant. But what I'm trying to say is, this 2 brick height Amrit Mitti is not only supporting all the vegetables, but it was supporting the papayas, the coconut, these huge trees. And we also had one betel nut tree at that time. Okay, so it's not in the photo. I didn't have a photo here. The betel nut tree also grew very high, and we had about 300 grams of betel nut per year it used to give us, which is minuscule compared to what it gives on land, but it was still very exciting for us. That is the time I learned that betel nut is very good for worms in the stomach as a medicine. It also has a medicinal value. So this was again a wow moment for us. In that food forest, we also had a cashew plant. Remember, when I was mentioning my team in the canteen team, this employees who work in the canteen are actually farmers at heart. They all have they have lands in their villages, and they've been farming. Their ancestors have been farming, and they've come here in the dock for their bread and butter. So these people are farmers at heart. So these my employees whenever they used to go to their villages, they used to get like these different trees, and let's plant this, and madam, let's plant that. And since we were a clean slate, we never had any issues about don't do this, don't do that. Okay, everything is welcome. And so we planted this cashew tree, and oh God, the first time we ever saw a cashew actually taking birth, and it's the beautiful colors. And we didn't get to taste it because it has to be roasted, and but it was taken by our employees. And this was the varieties of bananas that we grew, almost 21 to 22 kgs at a time. This on the one on the right you see is the one variety from Kerala. It's a red banana that we had. This was gifted. The tree was given to us by my boss, who's a Keralite, Mr. Mohan Chandran. He got it from Kerala, and we had grown it over here. So So the added bonus, this is a very exciting thing for me because, you know, as city dwellers, we don't really understand how nature helps us and how we are really so dependent on nature for such small things like, and so much can be done with actually when you live in harmony with nature. So we had this coconut tree, and this guy you see here, he was so skilled in making these brooms out of this coconut tree leaves. And for me, it was really magical. I can't tell you. I mean, I still have my husband and kid who laugh at me, saying, "Why? What are you getting so excited about?" But I was very excited with creating these brooms, you know, because they cost 150 rupees in Bombay today, one broom. Yeah, this was another wow moment. As the terrace, you know, grow, we were mapping the biodiversity on the rooftop. And if you see this first spider here, you can see his face, and he has a mustache, and has a hairstyle. And when we first detected this spider, I thought, I am not believing my eyes, and there can never be a spider like this. And uh, we actually got in touch with all the gurus of the spider kingdom who knew their spiders by heart. And the surprising thing that they told us was this spider is basically from Rajasthan. And he said, how come it's never been spotted in Bombay, and how come it's there in your terrace? And it was a wow moment for us. And we found out the name. It was Arrhenius mythifica. So more about after that we found number of spiders here, variety of spiders, variety of butterflies who actually used to come and sit on our shoulders, you know, and all the stages of the butterflies. And it was an amazing hands-on learning actually of all the connectedness. So the rooftop farm became our learning grounds, and we had students from all you know, schools, and the younger ones, the college students, PhD students, architects who visited us for, you know, to see the farm, for projects, for their different Homi Baba projects, etc., etc. So some of them just came to give the children a kind of just initiate them into seeing how, you know, fruits are grown, to watch them on the trees. Because even if you want to take children to see a orchard in Bombay, it is difficult to find an orchard. So this was a nice hub where people came to see how a custard apple looks on a tree, how a chiku looks on a tree, how is a papaya look on a tree. And on the right picture that you see here is a cotton plant. It's a cotton plant because and the children were so fascinated with this cotton. So actually we had started growing cotton because at that point of time we had decided to do a protest against the BT brinjal that was being introduced into the our Devi, who's a founder member, was an active person in the against GM, and she was our teacher in all this. We were a complete clean slate before that. So we said, if why not grow cotton on our terrace and see? And when we grew cotton, we really understood the intricacies involved, and the harm that, you know, BT cotton was also doing to our farmers today. As an experiment, we also grew rice on the rooftop to understand why rice fields are flooded. Actually, rice doesn't need water. The water is flooded in the fields so that the other weeds are, only rice can grow in water and the other weeds cannot. So it's just to suppress the weeds that rice fields are flooded with water. The only problem was that we never got to taste this rice fully because there was again one rat who came and ate it all up. Okay. So this was a journey so far for the Mumbai Port Trust garden. In 2009, what happened? Okay. Now, so in 2008, what happened was there were these bomb blasts in Mumbai. And as a result, the security was really tightened up. and all visitors to the port and the farm were completely not allowed. So what happened was, we said this is really bad. We really felt bad because nobody could come and visit us. And earlier we were doing all the sharing through by holding these small little sessions for children and school students, and we used to have school students coming there and used to teach them. But once this thing stopped, we said now we did not have a place to do this. And we were really at that point of time feeling very heartbroken. But then they say that when one door closes, another one opens. So we had this so actually urban leaves happened around discussions around a coffee table. I had friends sitting and we were discussing how to go and spread this technique, in Bombay. And my teacher, Vedanta teacher, Uday Acharya ji was also there, Devi was there. And we said, what do we do now? And we said, let's start conducting sessions at Maharashtra Nature Park. So we'll do that whenever we have time. We will go and conduct sessions on a weekend. So that's how we contacted Avinash Kubalji, Deputy Director of Maharashtra Nature Park. And both Acharya ji and Avinash Kubal really supported us and believed in us. Okay, and he gave us a small little tank in Maharashtra Nature Park, where we started conducting these workshops. And what happened, the practicals that we conducted at the workshop, they were enthusiastic volunteers who said, what's going to happen to this pile of compost that we've made here, or Amrit Mitti that we have made here? We needed monitoring. So every Sunday, to monitor the progress of this, the compost, the Amrit Mitti heaps that we had made, we started collecting there. Okay. And this actually resulted in a nice group getting formed. As we conducted more and more workshops, this volunteer strength grew. And each volunteer brought in fresh perspective, and we experimented to different learning, different ways of growing. And I like this thought, with a faith the size of a mustard seed, you can indeed move a mountain. So this is what we really felt, because all we had, we never really had any great expectations of doing anything great. We just went there to have fun. We went there to get together with like-minded people and to do something. And there was no rigid structure. We were just open to organic ways of, doing things and getting together and doing. And it just happened, actually. So as we did more and more workshops to support people to create their urban, the community spread, and we undertook, this is another photo where we were protesting against the BT brinjal. And this became a Sunday hub for urban. Every Sunday we used to get together and work on this farm, which really progressed. It became a hub for children's activities. And we had one volunteer, his name was Julius Rigo, who had a great experience of working with kids. He took over the workshops for children, then came Premila and Kavita. And we had a very nice team, which really did wonders with the kids over there. When I was going through all the old photographs, I realized, oh my God, how much work we have done over there. So 2011, we did a national seminar on organic urban gardening. And this was actually a very ambitious thing to do, because almost 300 people attended this seminar. And we had no experience of conducting anything like this ever in our lives, never, ever in our lives. But as I said, each one came with their enthusiasm and their, a great bonding team that we had. We put this together, and we were very privileged to have Dr. Vishwanathan join us that day. Just one moment, please. There's somebody at the door. 1 minute, please. Yeah. So we were really privileged to have him, and I have fond memories of my association with him and his energy, which was really very, very inspiring. And we had some really good speakers. This is the time when I met Clea, because she was one of the speaker here for the national seminar. And it's after I heard her and met her that we did our experiments at the BPT terrace there. So after we so simultaneously, so as we were experimenting at the BPT, we also had a very enthusiastic volunteer called Vipul, and he has his own building and his own terrace. And all of us told him, he was eager to do something on the terrace. So he's one of those volunteers who first utilized his space only to make Amrit Mitti. So first initial, I think from 2010 to 11, he was only making heaps of Amrit Mitti. He made lots of Amrit Mitti. Now once this Amrit Mitti, why is this happening? Why is this happening? The blue scratches are coming here on my presentation.
No, Preeti, there's some child scribbling. So first you turn off annotate.
What do I do? I stop sharing and doing and come again.
There is a child scribbling. So you need to turn off annotate. I don't know. They will know better. There's someone scribbling on the screen. So you need to turn off annotate.
It's coming so much.
Yeah. So maybe you get out and get in.
I'll stop sharing and come again.
Yes.
Okay,
and you need to turn off annotate.
What is that? Annotate. So turn off means mouse ka kya? Mouse.
Yeah, but once you get out and get in, then you turn off annotate.
Okay. Turn off means there's a red circle and a cross. I just do what do I do to get out of that? 1 minute. I'll stop sharing and come again.
Exit your screen.
Okay. I come back again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I turn
to annotate and you turn it off.
Okay. Where is that annotate gone now?
Madam, now it is fine. It is fine. Fine.
Okay, take it. Okay. So this was Vipul Sangvi's
quickly. You can be little more quicker, madam.
Now it is all fatafat. Now there is not. It's only pictures now. So this is whatever we had done at BPT. We started experimenting with Vipul's terrace here. This is a terrace. Finally, it looked like this with a lot of. It was like a food forest again. Now the second community farm at Nana Nani Park Chopati with Purvita Kapadia and Ubay as the coordinators. We had mostly a lot of senior citizens here. So again, they started with making of Amrit Mitti and growing fruits and growing their vegetables there. Next came the community farm at Don Bosco. This was at Matunga. Again, we started here. It was a concrete space of 4,000 square feet area. So we are doing the pathways. In this photo, you can see we are drawing the pathways first, the areas where we are going to give the trees. And this was a big team that we had in place, which was working at that time. And finally, today we are reaping harvest from this terrace. This was the terrace. This is the first photo of the terrace when we actually went to visit here. And this was how it developed. So this is a classic example of how the landscape completely changes. Urban landscapes can completely change and become carbon sinks, biodiversity hotspots, places where communities come together and live in harmony. This is a nice saying I've put up on the slide, but I'm not reading it now since we'll just go super fast. So this is Premila, the coordinator of Don Bosco, and this is on the left-hand side is Sajan, our gardener, who's been with us all these years. He's been with us, and you can see from a concrete space what Don Bosco had become. It is like a jungle here, and we are just sitting in one. We're trying to find space for us so you can see us, and all these creepers that gave us so much of fruit here. And our potlucks were always very famous, actually. I think all gardeners have their potlucks. Then came in 2014, we had a lot of stuff happening in 2014. 2014, we had Don Bosco, we had Bhavans, we had 2 more community farms. We had one at ISKCON, we had one at Mumbai Port Trust, Kolaba. There were 4 gardens that happened in 2014. So again, here volunteers was started by making Amrit Mitti. So what you're seeing here now is the original, the Maharashtra Nature Park volunteers which were there actually, learned for 2 to 3 years, and then from there they graduated to become coordinators for different projects which started happening simultaneously in Mumbai. So all of these again in turn. So again at Don Bosco, again at Bhavans, we had, we implemented the permaculture design, and it started greening slowly, beautifully. This was again a place where the pathway was covered with trellis. This was the trellis being set up on this pathway. And finally, you got the dudis on this pathway like this. These were some of the fun-filled moments at Bhavans. With Hemant and Kavita as the coordinators here. So in 2017, we had a sad incident where due to a long drawn discussion here, but due to some circumstances, we were asked to vacate the Bhavan's terrace. Now, it was heartbreaking for us to leave this. If you've seen all the photos and what we accomplished there with sheer hard work of making Amrit Mitti in the sun, toiling in the sun and maintaining that terrace, this was heartbreaking for us. Yeah. But as we were winding up this terrace, we had this confidence in us, because these volunteers had come a long way from learning to actually managing a terrace by themselves, taking it to such prosperity levels, and teaching over there. And this gave us a confidence that, that even if you have the community farms will come and go, but this knowledge that we have shared will find its way in new ventures. For example, now you have Premila, who has started this community farm in the BMC garden in Bandra, which is next to her. Then there was this school garden started by Deb in the Nalanda Public School. And you have Deepthi here, who started the edible gardens, where she actually takes, it's a small proprietary firm that she started, and she goes and, helps people set up their farms now. Some of the Foodscapes of our volunteers in their small. So Bombay has limitation in terms of we don't have balconies, we don't have terraces. So most of our projects were held in institutional, rooftops. But at homes we have our balconies and windowsills, and our volunteers go and again do this practice it at home. So these are some of the photos of the volunteers' terraces. So what are the key takeaways from a community farm that we've experienced? So first, that what hits you is all the organic harvests that are there. So it's the practical know-how of doing things, because it's only by doing that you learn. Because today we are so flooded with all the information that Unless you do it, you will not learn what works, what doesn't work for you. Plus experience sharing. So whatever experience you have, whatever experience others have, a lot of experience sharing happens there. It's learning to work in a team of diverse backgrounds. Some are surgeons, doctors, teachers, lawyers, housewives, and across all generations. So if you see, there are grandmothers, there are small children who come with them. Yeah, there is skill development as you learn to teach. Also, there are many who have come as volunteers here, who are now coordinators, who will be conducting sessions tomorrow. So there is a lot of skill development happening simultaneously there. There is a multiplication of objectives also. There are some who have gone on to, starting their own organic farms ventures. Totally, they've shut their businesses and they've gone into complete full-fledged organic farming today. Then there are varied contributions of volunteers as per their strengths, and there's a lot of creative input that comes in. So whenever we've had any tough situations, there has been creative inputs. Recently, we were facing this problem at Bosco, wherein we had to stop using the bricks because they were getting too heavy for the slab. And hence, one of our volunteers, Muhammad, he came up with a very beautiful design for the bed made of wood, which I've not been able to put a photo here. But yes, he did that, and that's getting us going now for our future projects. And of all the generous hearts and the potlucks and the exchange of recipes that happens, which actually allows you to use the produce, use what's growing, you know what's growing seasonally, locally, and all the old traditional recipes that you've lost, you actually get them from people who are still into it. You learn about it, and there's a lot of creativity involved. Challenges are also there. So most of the time, when one day, if you have an event, you have a project, and you find that there's a sudden low turnout, dropouts, and a problem of responsibility, accountability that happens. So you really need to have a strong core team here to take you through these projects. In absence of a formal working protocol, there are sometimes confusions over work allocations, execution of work, but Mother Nature is still resilient, and no mistake has ever been so big that has created a lasting problem for us. And also, there is also a limitation to taking on big projects because you don't have a proper team in place who will give a committed time for this work. So yeah, this is a photo of the MBPT terrace, which looked like a food forest in 2010. And I'm sharing this with you because it is my dream to see as many terraces as we can all across India, because India is a tropical country. We are blessed with so much of sunlight. The only issue is of waterproofing, which we need to take care before we start off. So if the new builders and new construction people are, you work with them and advise them on the kind of waterproofing that we have, I think in future we can definitely have a lot of these food forest on our terraces. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to have exceeded your time, but yeah. So this is, thank you so much. I'm sorry to have exceeded your time, but
no problem. Thank you. Thank you so much, Preeti Madam. Actually, we also never wanted to stop. So it was so continuous and probably giving so much, and we especially the pictures and other things. No, yes.
I'm sorry to have exceeded your time, but
no problem. Thank you. So I just wanted to see all those pictures, and I was just watching on YouTube, and all the viewers have given so much positive feedback that they are so happy to see all these things. Thank you so much. But there are 2-3 questions. Let me just put it,
sir.
And because my colleague Meenakshi used to do, today she is not there.
Okay, sir.
One probably one of our senior terrace gardeners here, Ramkrishna Narayanan, he was just asking the, so much of heavy rains in Mumbai, that how could you
Yes.
manage?
Yes. So we've actually seen
I
a
think
lot
it is
of.
muted, madam.
Mine is muted? No, sir, I'm not muted. See if it is from your side. I'm not muted from my side, sir.
No, I'm able to hear. I'm able to hear.
Fine, fine.
You're able to hear? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah. So the beauty of this is, you know what? As I said, a lot of these plantations are in containers. So the smaller ones are on beds, but the bigger trees are in containers. Now, what many a times the very high trees, if you've seen that papaya tree photo that I showed, we had to give it an external support.
Yes.
With bamboos, okay, because the roots had adequate nourishment from the soil, but the deeper roots are missing, which actually give, you know, strength to the tree to hold actually. So we have to provide an external support. So even after doing that, in case of a cyclone or in case of heavy rain, sometimes the trees used to topple, but they topple along with the container. So what happens is there is no casualty as such. So next day when you go, maybe one branch is broken or wherever it is taken, and all you do is you pick it up and you make it stand again. So that's all, you know, the major issues that we faced. But otherwise, actually this Amrit Mitti, once it holds, I have a photo of this when we were doing when we were setting up the permaculture design with CLIA. We suddenly had a lot of rain, and that time we had just exposed one one bed, and the bricks were all taken away and the soil was just there as it is, and it started raining very heavily, and we had to again start after 2 weeks. You will not believe the soil, because it's all humus, it stayed as it is intact for 2 days. So when Clea came back after 2 days, she said, I'm amazed to see this on the terrace. There was no, you know, like the soil had not broken up, and there was no wash away. It had not washed away. It had not broken, but it was as it is there. These are all the miracles that you see with Amrit Mitti happening.
Thank you. Yeah, I think see some of these things probably my friends also may ask. Before that, there are one or two questions on YouTube about aerobic work composting. I think in the days to come, next week or probably the following week, we'll have a workshop on aerobic composting. So probably you will have the questions answered during that time. Amrit Mitti, as Madam said, though she can handle that session, that is not that, but so we thought that Purnima Savargaonkar is handling that session. So probably on 25th of October, we'll be having her session. So please join for that session as well. So you'll get to know more about Amrit Mitti. And as part 2 of the urban foodscapes, probably, so we'll be having a session of Pramila Martis, so that she can have the extended session of the urban leaves or maybe MBPT and how it has turned into a community movement in Mumbai for all of us. But Madam, your learnings are almost like our learnings in Bengaluru. So probably if we put the Garden City Farmers or some other things, no. So it is almost ditto in many cases. Though maybe the volunteer support, in terms of community farms, all those things are almost same. So that way, so there is so much of learning. Before our president takes over, anybody else, Madhav, Anil, or if you have any doubts or any questions, probably you can just ask. Otherwise, our president, Dr. Rajesh, will take over. Madam, mute agide. Mute.
Good evening, ma'am. So,
good evening, sir.
I have spent considerable amount of time in Mumbai. So when the session started, I was just curious, what can we grow? Because we don't have balconies there, let alone having a terrace space. So I was really curious, and the work you've done is amazing. You had such beautiful stories to share. Every plant had some story. Okay, so probably there is so much work to do in Bangalore as well, because we are probably we are little more blessed compared to Mumbai. So
Yes.
we can do a lot
Yes, sir.
more.
Yes,
Okay, so thanks for that.
yes, sir.
The one query I had was you explained about how did you manage the watering aspect given the excess heat for most part of the year other than rains?
So actually, initially, as I said, the water requirements are about high, but Amrit Mitti, once the Amrit Mitti is made, it really has a very high water holding capacity. And as it matures, sir, you will not believe, but Mumbai winters are not that great. I mean, we don't have really very cold winters at all. But the Mumbai Port Trust, during winters, there were some of the trees, the fruit trees, whom we did not water even for 4 weeks to 1 week, 4 days to 1 week. So that was the frequency of watering then. But summers, yes, summers we have to water, but we really didn't need watering for maybe 2 days, twice a day or anything like that, even in our Mumbai summers. So the water holding capacity of this Amrit Mitti is really great. And water requirements are, so when I'm using Amrit Mitti at home also in my balcony, um, summer times, yes, once a day, but winters I don't need to water for 3-4 days at all.
Thank you. So it was pleasure having your team with us. We'll catch up with more sessions in future as well.
Because I remember how Deepak Bhai used to explain. He said in a forest nobody goes around watering the trees. So where does the forest get its water from? So because there's a beautiful layer of, this compost which actually harvests the dew from the atmosphere, you are making Amrit Mitti in a style which mimics the forest method. So your water holding capacity and attracting dew is, that capacity increases with Amrit Mitti. That is how we actually that time explained it to us.
Yes. Anybody else? So Dr. Rajesh, take over, please.
Yeah, so as Dr. Hegde said, this was a really wonderful session. And we never knew that it was going for more than 1 hour. We thought it was just each and every aspect was so interesting that we were engrossed in it. And we only wish that we could have heard a lot more, but then we're constrained to time. So thank you so much, madam, for this
Thank you, sir.
wonderful presentation. I vividly remember having come to Mumbai during that 2011 national seminar along with our Dr. Vishwanath. I had traveled with him,
Yes, sir.
and we really had some enriching experiences. We had first-hand experiences of making Amrit Mitti using our hands and legs, and after that only we had breakfast in the morning. It was really enjoy. I remember those days very well. And thank you so much for this enriching and wonderful session. Looking forward to
Thank you, sir.
many more, and looking forward to close association of urban leaves with Garden City farmers and Bangalore terrace gardeners. Thank you so much, madam. And
Sure,
thank you all the Garden City team, Dr.
Thank
Hegde,
you, sir. Thank you.
Anil Nadik, we got Madhav, and of course we have Pramila who's joined us today. So thanks all for making this happen. And viewers who have been viewing, I hope you enjoyed this. Request you to be in touch, and every Sunday we'll be having this event. If you have not already done so, kindly like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much. See you all next Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay.